Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Mother Gaia Birthing podcast. Originally, I recorded this podcast with my friend Tasha when I was trying to do an online course around birth plans. She immediately came to my mind, as one of the things that stuck with me during my first birth was her telling me not to bother doing a birth plan. So you'll find that this episode is a little bit shorter than usual, as this wasn't what I was planning on doing with her recording. Unfortunately, the original recording, which actually had over an hour and a half worth of us talking, has been deleted from my servers and I can't actually give you any more. But I will fill you on with the rest of her birth story at the end. So for now, sit back and relax and listen to a rather interesting birth story by a good friend of mine, Tasha. I hope you enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Mother Gaia podcast. I'm Katy, and on this episode I'm chatting to a good friend of mine, Tasha, about her birth to her first daughter, Maisie. Maisie's now 7 years old and thriving at life, but Tasha's birth story is a little less happy. We hope by listening to Tasha's story you'll be inspired and comforted and know that you are never alone. So, grab a cuppa, get comfy, as we listen to Tasha's story of resilience, love and the incredible bond that she has with Maisie. Birth plan for Maisie. What did you do? How did you set it up? What were you told?
I was told originally by other recent mums and stuff that I was speaking to not to bother writing a birthing plan. And just to write down stuff that, like, I wouldn't want the doctors or the nurses or anything else to do medically.
Yeah.
Which is obviously part of your birthing plan anyway. But they were just saying just do that because they don't. They don't follow them.
Yeah.
But obviously with the maternity pack and everything else, you are told to make your own maternity plan.
Yeah.
And your own birthing plan and stuff. So I did make a birthing plan for Maisie. Maisie was a problematic pregnancy anyway, but I was planning to have a water birth with Maisie. So I wanted no painkillers. The maximum thing that I wanted would have been gas and air.
Yeah.
I wanted a water birth. I wanted I knew I couldn't have like real candles, so I wanted, like the fake candles and stuff like that. So I had the mood lighting and everything else. I wanted to be quite peaceful and very unclinical.
So were you planning this at home or within
hospital? I was still planning it at the hospital.
Yeah.
Mainly because of the complications with the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Maisie they couldn't size her properly, so they were unsure whether she was going to be a giant baby or she was going to be a tiny baby. If she was a tiny baby, but they had no idea. For some reason, they were shit with that bit. However, in my birthing plan, I put all this stuff down. I put down that I wanted Maisie to be left on the cord for as long as possible, and to be passed to me straight away. I wanted her on my chest. I wanted to have birthed the placenta before clipping the cord.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I wanted her attached for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I'd read, obviously, there's a lot of nutrients and stuff within, and a lot of blood still in there. So it's better for the baby to get that last bit out anyway. And for us.
Yeah.
So I wanted that to happen. I also put down that I was happy for trainees to be there to witness the birth. However, if anything medical had to be done to Maisie, or anything medical had to be done to me, including emergency procedures and stuff like that, that they were not allowed to be involved.
Yeah.
And it had to be done by a qualified nurse or a fully qualified doctor.
Yeah.
Only. Now, however, as much as I was told in the beginning, just write the emergency stuff down, everything else is shut out the window, nothing was followed at all.
Okay.
At all. So when I went into labour with Maisie, I actually lost my waters the day before. My waters broke. So there was a bit of a funny start to the birthing thing anyway. So the birthing plan had kind of gone out the window straight away because my waters had gone. However, I wasn't dilated and I'd only lost a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of waters. We were unsure if I actually lost waters or if I peed myself, honestly.
Yeah.
There was a little tiny gush, but it wasn't like a...
Yeah. It's not like it happens in the TV.
Yeah. It was a tiny little gush thing. So went to the hospital. I had to watch myself and take regular temperature checks and everything else in case of infection. And I was booked in for a intravenous birth if I hadn't given birth to Maisie within a certain time period because I'd already lost my waters. So
it was on a 24-hour clock, basically.
Yeah, it was basically like we were on the clock. Yeah. So everything kind of went out the window with a natural birth and having a water birth and stuff, because if it got further down the line, I would potentially need antibiotics and everything else straight away. And I wouldn't be allowed to be in a bath on a drip. I wouldn't be allowed to be in a bath if they had to get in there or anything else. So it was the water birth was straight out the window.
Yeah.
The next day I gave birth to Maisie. It was about 13 minutes past 7 at night.
Yeah.
When I got to hospital, I'd actually been in and out of hospital 5 times that day. They kept on sending me home. Because I wasn't.
She's like, I need to be fucking in hospital.
Yeah, I was dying. Like I was on paracetamol.
Yeah.
And they kept on sending me home. And I got there and I was 4 centimeters dilated, and they were going to send me home again. And I was like, I'm having the baby now. And they were like, right, okay, she's crazy. Send us to the labour ward, which they did. The nurse there. There was a nurse there. There was a trainee. The nurse there was not very nice. I'll be honest. I had a very bad experience with her. So I actually was in the labour room for maybe about 20 minutes. And I said to them, I feel like I need to push. She actually told me to shut the fuck up. And I had no idea what I was doing. This is the first time I've had a baby.
Charming.
To which I was like, well, if that's the case, I need more than just air and fucking gas. Give me something else. So without her checking me, she initiated giving me pethidine. So pethidine, I found out later, you're not actually allowed with it within 4 hours of birth because it can cause severe issues for the baby. Lung problems, mainly for the baby. So you're not actually supposed to be given pethidine. However, as she was drawing the needle from my arm, I told her again I needed to push. She opened her mouth and went, no, you don't. And my partner cut her off and went, fucking check her.
Yeah.
She checked and Maisie was crowning.
Yeah.
She forced me to hold back the baby for about 20 minutes. Because I'd forced the baby back for so long, and because it was already a dry birth anyway, because my waters had gone prior the day before. When I did give birth to Maisie, she came out with such a rush because of the waters that were left behind.
Yeah.
They just pushed her out and I was torn badly.
Yeah.
Badly. Now they took Maisie and they put her straight on my chest, but they cut a cord straight away and then took her away from me. I was bleeding out, and I had to have stitches done. I had 37 stitches.
Holy crap.
I had 28 internal stitches, and the rest of them were external stitches.
Ouch.
I'd lost over 1 litre of blood. And when they started, I was at this point starting to succumb to the pethidine.
Yeah, so you're getting
They
all
just
foggy
given
and
to me. I was getting very foggy. They did not give me any anaesthetic at all. They started sewing me up, and I was screaming in agony. However, what I didn't realise was that it was the student that was stitching me up. The student, I'd passed out through the pain and the pethidine. I passed out. My mother was there. They'd been sewing me up for nearly 40 minutes because they were letting a student have a go at me, to the point that my mother actually turned round to them and went, "Are you done? This is a joke."
Yeah.
When I did come round later, when I came back round later, I didn't know where I was, what had happened. There was blood all over still. There was blood on the walls. There was blood all over me. There was blood all over the floor underneath me. All the bedding was still soaked in blood from the surgery. And I was given a cold slice of toast and a cold cup of tea that they'd made me hours ago.
Oh, nice.
And then I was given my baby. And then sent off down to the ward.
So thank you to Tasha for talking to me on this podcast, and it is such a shame that we don't have the rest of her recording. We did chat about things in more depth, and she brought up a few interesting points on how she thought if she'd been a little bit more educated, if she'd done a little bit more research, if she had someone like a doula to speak on her behalf and to watch out for her when she couldn't do it for herself, she would have felt more in control and maybe not have had such a bad experience. She does now feel that having a birth support plan is beneficial to anybody. A birth support plan is something that I'm working on at the moment, which helps people to put across how they want to feel, how they want to be treated, how they want to be spoken to whilst they're in their birth, rather than a tick box exercise of yes, I do want vitamin K or no, I don't want vitamin K. If you'd like to find out more about how to do a birth support plan, please get in contact or join my free 2-day birth support plan challenge on Facebook, which runs regularly throughout the year. Next week's episode, I talk to the wonderful Amber Sterling. She's going to talk to us about trauma and anxiety, particularly birth trauma, and how you can get over this, or at least attempt to, with EMDR. This is something that I've never heard of before, and if you'd like to know what it is as well, tune in next week at 6 o'clock on Friday to find out all about it. Until then, be kind to yourself,